So today I'm going to be making a pair of door cards for a VW split screen. Now it's just the two front door cards I'm making today, but I've also got to make the kickballs that go on the bottom of the cab. I have the pattern here, but I'll show you how I'm going to be making them. So these are going to have just one insert panel. So a bit like this, obviously different colour. This is for our bay window. I'll be making them for our split screen, but very similar to these. It will have a fluted insert panel that goes along here. What I have here is the pattern for the door cards. Now I'm going to draw a new pattern, so I'll get the patterning plastic out. So every time I get a piece of patterning plastic out, I always get asked the same question: what is it called? So this patterning plastic is called Fibertex Clear. It comes in just over 2 metre wide rolls, and it's a 50 metre roll. And I'm not sure whether the company I buy it from sell it in metre sizes. They may do, but I'm not sure. I'll leave a link in the description to where I buy it from, and you can always give them a call and find out if they sell it in by the metre. I'm just going to pin the original pattern to the patterning plastic, and I'm just going to draw around it. Going to roughly draw out where I think I want this to go. I can always remove lines later if I think it's in the wrong place. So each one of the flutes is going to be 1.5 inches wide. So before I draw this bottom line where the bottom of the panel is going to be, I'm going to draw out where the flutes are going to go, because I don't want to have an odd flute at the bottom or the top. I'd rather the spacings of each flute to be exactly the same. If I mark on, I'll do it on this side here, 1.5 inches, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, 10.5, 12. So that's roughly where I want the panel to go. I've got my spacings correct. I didn't want to come too far down to the bottom. So now I'm going to use something round. I use a spray tin because I've got lots of them. It's convenient size. I'm going to draw radius corners. So that is now the panel drawn out onto the patterning plastic. I don't need to draw the lines in, I know exactly where they're going to be. But the next job now is to put match marks in. So I will put a match mark where the radius starts, there, and then one in the centre. The same on all 4 corners. And one in the centre of this side here. The centre there. Doesn't have to be exactly centre, but centre enough. And I'm going to put 2 along the long ends. So I'll put 1 there, and 1 there, and 1 there, and 1 there. What I need to do now is to punch holes where all of these match marks are. So that's it for the pattern for now. I'll just make sure the match marks are easily seen. The holes are a bit of a giveaway, but it's always nice to have the marks as well. So I'm going to put the pattern to one side, and now I'm going to get the fabric out. So this is going to be a 2-tone grey. So we have a lighter grey and a darker grey. The light grey is going to be for the insert panel, and the dark grey is going to be for the door card and the kickload. I will use the light grey first. I'm just going to tape the pattern to the fabric. This isn't actually fabric, it's vinyl, but just a generic term. The material, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to mark through the holes in the patterning plastic that I put in. So remember that I put the holes in, and each hole is going to be across. So I'm going to put one line up and down and one line across. So that's what I have there now. All the match marks are drawn onto the reverse side of the fabric or the vinyl. So I'm going to join the dots. And again, use the tin to do the corners. So that is now the finished size of the panel when it's been sewn together. But what I need to do now is to add a seam allowance to this. I sew everything at 3/8 of an inch seam or 9mm. It's up to you what you sew it at. It's not a requisite that you sew it at the same as mine. If you do half inch, you do half inch. If you do 10mm, you do 10mm. But that's what I sew at. So I need to add all around this pattern now 3/8 of an inch. Continue my match marks out to the edge of this line here. So I've got another tin here, and this is roughly 3/8 of an inch bigger than this. So that's my first piece drawn out. I still need to extend the match marks here on the corners. So that's the first one drawn out. I need to do another one, but in reverse for the other door cards, because they're a mirror of each other. One is this way and one will be the opposite way. So that's one panel cut out. I'm going to notch in the match marks. Just cut in little V's where the match marks are. And that's two done. I'm going to put these two to one side, and then I'm going to cut out the main body of the door card. So when it comes to cutting out the main part of the door card, I need to add a little bit more to the end, because this has to go around the card itself and be stapled on the back. So I just use a ruler and just draw out some dashes, and that's my extra. And again, I'm working on the back of the vinyl, not on the face. You should never work on the face unless you really have to. And the only time you would really have to work on the face of a fabric or vinyl or anything else is if it's got a pattern that you have to match up and you can't see that pattern from the back. So I'm just going to add my extra, and I'm also going to draw little dashes again. This is so I can line the actual cover up with the door card and I get it in the correct position. The most important part are the corners. So again, exactly the same as with the insert panel, mark on where all the match marks are. So I can now remove the pattern, and again we have the same marks on this bit of the fabric. But what I'm going to do differently now is, instead of adding to this part here, I'm going to add to the inside. So I'll do the same again. I will join the dots. And add 3/8 of an inch to the inside now. Put the match marks on. And again, I have something that is 3/8 of an inch smaller than this one. If you look around your home or garage or wherever, workshop, you'll probably find something that is the right size. You have lots and lots and lots of circles around the home and the workplace. Put the match marks in. So that's that one drawn out. I'm going to do the same but in reverse, or a mirror of, just like I did with the insert panel. I'll draw the other one out, cut it out, and then I will cut out this inner part, so we'll have like a window effectively with no fabric there. And then I need to foam back this and also the panel that I cut out earlier. So I need to cut in the match marks on both pieces and then foam back them. So now that the pieces are cut out, I need to foam back all of them with 3mm scrim foam. I'm just going to do the two insert panels first, and then I'll draw out all the lines that I need to stitch on. I'll stitch the lines on and then I'll foam back the main body of the door cards. So that's both the panels now backed, I need to draw the lines on now. So I'm just going to use a normal pencil, normal HB pencil for this. Now you can get pencil off vinyl if you use white spirits. I think in some countries they call it mineral spirits. So if you remember, our spacings for these lines are an inch and a half, but I need to add 3/8 of an inch to the first line as well. So that's 1 inch and 7/8 to the first one. So 1 inch and 7/8, 1 inch and a half, 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 and that's 1 inch and 7/8 left over. So I've now formed back the main part and I've stitched through the insert panel. It will look something like that. You probably can't see from there properly. Now when I come to sew this, I'm going to put the insert panel on the bed of the machine. So that's going to be like that, and I'm going to sew this part onto it. So I'm going to use one of the match marks that is on one of the long edges, but I'm going to start at, not in the middle, not at this side here, I'm going to start back here. So when I come round the corner and come this way, I've got this long bit to sew in. You'll see when I sew it together what I mean. So I'm going to start here, and that's my first match mark there. Make sure the match marks line up. So I'm going to sew up to the next match mark. Now if you remember, this next match mark where the curve starts is still a straight line, so I'll sew straight up to that one. I'm going to stop right on the match mark. So now I need to get this to come round here. I will need to put a few snips just in here. I need to make sure the match marks all line up. Getting around these corners is very tricky. I don't want to overstretch anything, so I'm going to do a couple of stitches at a time, turn, a couple of stitches at a time, turn. And I'm going to have to keep pulling this bit here. So I want to kind of stretch this, the bit that's on the bottom, and not stretch the top bit. So I'm around the corner now, and make sure the next match mark, which is along here, lines up as well. I'll put some snips in this bit here. In the middle. Snip in the middle. Well, the straight bits are easy because it's just one match mark to the next, just a straight line. So it's just a case of stretching where you need to stretch without over stretching anything. On the corners being really precise, taking your time, 1 or 2 stitches at a time, just easing it round, just checking the match marks. Lifting the fabric up. Round. There we go, we're on the end. So there we go, that's now sewn in. So what I need to do now is to top stitch along here. So I'm not going to back tack here, I'm going to sew all the way around, and then when I get back to here I'm going to I'm trying to get in the same hole as this is in now, and then I'm going to pull both threads through the back and tie them off. Very careful doing this because I've gone through all the work of sewing the lines in and stitching this panel in. I don't want to mess up now. Very careful. In the hole, and then snip it off, flip it over. So that's the first one now done, or sewn together anyway. I'm going to get on with the other one, get it to this point, and then I can start to put it onto the card. Now when I put it on the card, I will be gluing the centre panel down, but I won't be gluing anything else down, just the centre panel down. Everything else is then going to be stapled on. So split screen cabs, the door is actually bent in, so as you can see I've cut a line in the back at this point here, and that's where the bend is in the cab door. So that just allows the door card to actually bend properly without any stress. So it's got a hinge point there. If you don't put that in, then it pulls the fixings out at this point here. In fact, that's the door handle, but it pops the fixings out. So it isn't a massive bend, but it's probably only about that much. But obviously, it's enough to put stress on the fixings for the door card. So having that cut along the back just helps with that bend. That's the actual boards all cut and ready. What I need to do now is to attach the cover. Now I'm going to glue this part of the cover down here, just the light grey insert panel. I'm not going to glue anything else. I just want this to be fixed into its position, and then when I come to staple this bit around, I'm not going to have any movement here, because if you don't fix it, if you over pull in certain areas, it will distort this panel here. But if it's glued, if this panel's glued down, then there won't be any distortion, but you can still stretch this part here around the outside, because I'll need to stretch it a little bit just to get rid of any of these wrinkles that are here. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to now use my ruler and cut off the excess foam that goes around the edge here. I don't want that foam on the back, so if I remove it now, then it'll help me position this into the correct place on the card, and it won't create any bulk on the back of the card and hinder the fixings. If you have too much fabric or foam going around the back of a card, then it can push against the fixings, and they often pop away. So you may have noticed when I actually glued this on, that I didn't glue all the way up to the edge here on the cover for this reason. I'm going to use the pattern. I'm just going to mark on roughly where the centre panel is. This is just so I can apply the glue in the correct place. So I'm not actually going to draw it out. I'm just going to glue in between these dots here. Just going to pin the actual cover down just so it doesn't move, because I'm going to place the board on top of this. It's much easier to do that rather than trying to place the cover onto the board itself. So I'm just going to use my corner, which is there, and the corner which is there. Flip it over. Flip it back over, set these pins out, and now I can staple the cover over. So I'm using 3.6mm, I'm using 3mm staples, no 4mm staples to staple this on. I'm going to start with the corners. I'm going to pull the corner tight and get over one staple in the corner. Same with this side, pull the corner tight. You can see it's overstretched a little bit, but that's absolutely fine. What I want the corner to be stretched a little bit, pull it tight, and one staple in that way. This corner now, exactly the same, pull it tight, fold it over, one staple in that way. Pull it tight, over. Now, because it's a curve, I'm going to put the staple in that way. Last corner, pull it tight, over, stapling that way, just like that. So I'm going to slice like that and like that. Same on this corner. And I'm going to work up this short side first. So I'm going to do this short side, the opposite side, the bottom edge, and then I'll do the top last. So I'm just going to pull tight. Now remember, it's glued into position, so it's not going to distort the centre panel. And then work from my corners. So I'm not going to trim this off yet. Move that out of the way so you can see better. I'm going to pull this way and that way as well at the same time. So there we go. And put one staple in there. I'm putting the staples in roughly a stapler width apart. Flip it over, check it. And that's absolutely fine. We've got rid of any wrinkles that are on these corners here. If you notice, those ends there are a bit wrinkly. This one isn't because I've pulled it in the corner. So when I get round to this bit here, by pulling this here, That'll get rid of any wrinkles on this corner. So flip it over again and I'll trim this edge. So I'm putting my finger against there as a guide and I'm just going to run the blade up. That'll give me a consistent cut. When I get to here, I'm not going to move the knife, I'm going to move the vinyl. And that's one side done. So now do the same with this side. Same here, cut diagonally. I'm just going to start working from the corner now. So remember, I said there was a wrinkle somewhere around about here. So just double check it where it is. It's there. Put a staple there for now. Then work towards that staple. So you can see that I'm not firing them straight down. I'm firing them in at a slight angle. That will just pull the vinyl a little bit more as the staple fires in. Trim off the end. Flip it over, check it, we're all fine there. I'm going to do this bit next, just here. So I want to pull along this line quite a lot. So I'm just going to put a snip there, and a snip there, and pull really tight there. So I don't want to put a staple where this cut line is here, because that'll twist anyway. So that's absolutely fine there. I'm now going to work down this edge here. So on the curve, I'm just going to work my way around. I'll show you. When I pull this here, I'm going to pull it in towards that bit there. So like that. And then I'm going to put a staple where the crease is formed here. Same again, where the crease is, staple. And then I can work up the side. So same with this bit here, I'm going to pull that way as I pull that way. So this way and then like that. And that's going to form a wrinkle. Same again, going to form a wrinkle. Same again. And then I'll work from this corner here, once I've snipped it. Get rid of that. Trim off. So you can leave all this till the very end, but I just like to do it as I'm going along. Flip it over and check it. Trim off. Flip it over and check it again. So now I've just got to do the top edge along here. So it's exactly the same. Trim. little bit of a tip for you as well, when you're pulling on the vinyl, don't put your finger down like that, your little finger, because what you'll end up doing, you'll end up wearing this part away here. So if you like that, you've got a bit more purchase with that little finger, and you're not going to actually rub along this part here. Flip it over, check it. So all I need to do now is to cut a hole in there. So that's for the door latch. So obviously I'm not going to just cut a hole with a blade. And that door card is now complete. So I've just got to do the same now with the other one, do the 2 kickboards, and that will be that job done.